Good afternoon, Florida You Judge viewers, family. Heidi Oropesa. I'm here with my new BFF, Janine Cohen. She's been joining me, and she's been so much fun. You've been so much fun, Janine.
I really appreciate that.
We started coming on August 3rd during early voting. It's early voting now. And so I hope that everyone is exercising your right to vote, because it's very important, right, Janine?
It's absolutely crucial for everyone to vote. And, early voting goes till Sunday. Then there's no voting Monday. And then Tuesday's the big day. We are almost done.
Are you happy? Because I know you've been complaining about the heat.
The heat at the polling places is brutal. I will be happy to have this over with. It's very stressful. I mean, clearly I'm wearing a Wendy DePaul shirt. I've been working on Wendy's campaign. She's my business partner. We were law school roommates. I believe everybody should get out for any candidate that they believe in.
So we have some people already joining us. 2 minutes away from 5 o'clock, we're going to have Helene Daniel. She's running for a circuit seat in Hillsborough County. I'm excited that she's on. I haven't seen her in a while. I interviewed her, I believe it was last year, her interviews on YouTube before we pre-pandemic. So I'm glad to be able to, for the first time, interview her during my new setup, which is it's so much better. So much better technology has been post-pandemic. So I'm happy to be having her on in a couple of seconds. And she is awesome, an awesome candidate. I had an opportunity to interact with her when I last interviewed her. Great candidate, awesome demeanor, which is very important among other things. So we're going to just go ahead and bring her on a little early.
And she has a wonderful sister. Hi, Helene.
Hi, Haiti. So nice to see you. Nice to see you, Janine.
So I get to stand next to your sister quite often.
I'm going to go ahead and do this. Janine, it's all Janine. I'm going to let her interview you. I just wanted to say hello. I'm going to drop off and be in the waiting room, but I just did want to tell the viewers that I think you're an amazing candidate. You have a beautiful demeanor, and you have a lot to offer the people of Hillsborough if they entrust you to allow you to serve on the bench. Okay? All right.
So much,
you take it away, Janine. I'm going to sign off into the waiting room.
Thanks.
So obviously, being on the campaign trail, I've gotten to hear everybody's couple of speeches, but I do have some questions for you because I think it makes more sense to do a question and answer than just go. So what makes you the right candidate for people to vote for?
That's an excellent question. I think experience matters. That's the short of it. Experience matters. The circuit court in Hillsborough County is the highest trial court we have before we get to the second DCA and then the Supreme Court, which are both appellate or review courts. So circuit court is very important. Circuit court judges hear very important cases that actually affect all of us on a day-to-day basis. It's not just criminal. Most people think, oh, I'm never going to get in trouble. I don't need to vote for judges. The lion's share of divisions that we have in circuit court are civil divisions for the most part, and they affect us on a day-to-day basis. As you know, Janine, if you own a house or if you rent an apartment, you may have a foreclosure action, a landlord-tenant action. If you have a family, you could have either a divorce or custody issue. It could also be a guardianship or a probate or estate matter. That's also in circuit court, civil division. If you have a personal injury action, a medical malpractice case, a nursing home claim, any of these things will come before circuit court. And that's just to name a few. So all of these divisions do affect us on a day-to-day basis. And so our judges make very important decisions that affect us. And that's why when you vote or vet out your candidates for circuit court, you really want somebody who's had the experience. I've had the trial experience. I've been an attorney for over 33 years. I've had the privilege of representing clients from every walk of life. And I've also had a wide-ranging variety of law that I've practiced, which is kind of nice because I'm hoping it will help me hit the ground running, as they say. So all of these things I believe matter. So that's why I think I'm the better choice.
What areas of law have you practiced in?
So for many years, I did a lot of insurance defense work, including personal injury defense, medical malpractice, nursing home. I've done some professional liability defense work. I've also represented people on the other side. I've done some probate estate work. I've represented families in contested adoption litigation. I've also represented families in adoptions that were not contested. I've done some criminal work as well. When I practiced back in Miami-Dade many years ago, early on in my career, I would take on public defenders' conflict cases. So I did a lot of that. I've done some juvenile work as well. I'm trying, and more recently in the last 10 years, I've been doing healthcare law, which is also very, very interesting, a little complex. Doesn't bring me into court as often as I used to, but it still brings me into the courthouse, and I just love it. I think this variety is what we need because it brings familiarity to the table.
What you have been appearing in court via Zoom, correct?
I've done a couple of mediations via Zoom. I've not had any hearings of late because I've been campaigning so hard.
Would you, as a judge, allow Zoom to continue for status conferences and, I want to say non-evidentiary things, but I hear some lawyers are liking the evidentiary Zooms also.
I think it's a great question, Janine, and it's a really important concern. So I like the virtual court access. I think it has a lot of pros. For example, I think it's going to make us attorneys much more efficient and much more productive. So when we have a 5-10 minute hearing or even a 30-minute hearing, rather than driving to the courthouse, park the car, stand in line for security, do all this stuff, which we oftentimes, not every lawyer, but oftentimes we end up billing our clients portal to portal. We can save all that time and save our clients money by being able to do the virtual court access, which I think is fabulous. And if I am on the bench as often as I possibly can, I would want to continue that because I think in the end, it gives more affordable court access to our citizens. And I think it's absolutely essential. The flip side to that, being a trial attorney, I have to tell you, I have some concerns. I know that the judiciary is working on this, so I don't know how far we've gotten in trying to resolve these issues. But as a trial attorney, I am concerned cross-examining a person via Zoom, for instance, and not knowing if there's someone in the room whispering the answers to that person. I don't know if I'll be able to check on the veracity of a witness by Zoom. I don't know if I'll be able to know whether the records that are being introduced into evidence are truly authentic. So these are serious concerns. And also, I don't know the jurors' perception of what they're going to see and hear, and whether that's going to be fair to the parties involved. So on the trial stuff, on the evidentiary stuff, I have some serious reservations, but certainly all the mini hearings that we have, as you know, the 10-minute, 15 case management, all of these things, I think we can be much, much more productive and efficient by doing them or continuing to do them virtually.
I'm on the same page with you as far as that's concerned. I actually have a bench trial scheduled at the end of August where I thought me and the state attorney were going to be in the courtroom with the judge with Zoom in front of us with my client and the experts on Zoom. And now the judge is like, oh no, Ms. Cohen, you'll be by Zoom too. And I'm thinking, how do I know that, my objections are cut off or the court's hearing everything? Because people overtalk each other. And it's one thing when you're in the courtroom. So I have the same concern. I wasn't even getting the jury trials because, I'm going to let some of the better criminal defense bar bring the constitutional arguments before we have a Zoom jury trial. Okay, so
right.
We heard you on the campaign trail talking about, your experience. Tell me what you like to do in your personal time, not campaigning, not legal, not pro bono, and not community service.
Oh, so you're talking about my addiction. Okay, I have 2 addictions. Well, if we're putting children aside, of course, my children are my universe. I have 2 grown children now, but whenever they want to spend time with mom, they're always at the top of my list. I always take their phone calls, whatever the case may be. If I can spend extra time, that goes without saying. So I love being a mom. But putting that aside, I love my dogs. We have 3 labs. And they have that gorgeous look that says, Mom, you haven't walked me yet. And so we do that. And we do a lot of frisbee tossing in the pool that they just jump into the pool to retrieve. So they're phenomenal. And then my other addiction is tennis. Before I started campaigning, I played tennis at night once a week on a night league and occasionally on a Saturday morning league, not in the summertime, but whenever the league would form. But I do love to play tennis. So now you know.
Tennis and Labrador retrievers.
Yes.
That's
yes.
Awesome. Okay. So getting to know you personally, what is it tell me something about you that nobody knows on the campaign trail. Let me ask you this way. Do you have a hidden talent? Obviously.
Talent?
A hidden
tennis, yeah. I like foreign languages. I speak more than one language. English is actually my second language. I learned how to speak English when I was in my teens. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
So no. Okay, so I was born and raised in France, and my mom and my sisters and I came to America when I was 12 and a half years old. And that's when I learned how to speak English. We moved.
You speak French?
So I speak French. I speak English. I also studied German, and I studied 1 year in Germany in the Black Forest at the University of Freiburg. And so I have all that knowledge in my head. I just haven't practiced my German in quite a while, but I was fluent at some point. And while I was in Germany, I was also studying Russian. So I do like languages. I'm lucky that they came easy to me, but my dream was always to be a lawyer.
What about Spanish?
No, I mean, I understand it, and it's very close to Italian. I do speak a little bit of Italian, and I can read it. And so if I hear it, I know for the most part what's being said, and I can translate it, but I'm not fluent.
What has been that's amazing, by the way, because I took Spanish 1 3 times. I ended up having to do American Sign Language just to get done with the language requirement. So good for you on that.
That's a great language. I wish I had learned sign language. I think that's phenomenal.
Well, my theory was then I could just go anywhere and find a deaf person and start talking. And it turns out it's not true. So on the campaign trail, because I want to take you back to that for a second. What is your favorite part of campaigning and what is the worst part of campaigning?
The best part has been meeting amazing people, complete strangers who have been so supportive, Janine, kind and extremely knowledgeable, asking amazing questions. I've had the opportunity to really reach every corner of the community. And Hillsborough County is a very big county. And I have loved that. I have loved that because every different part of the community has different concerns, different issues. And it's just been really a wonderful journey. I don't regret anything. It's been a very long year and a half. I won't lie. Very challenging at times. I think the worst part now, I would have to say, standing on street corners, waving signs in the grueling heat. I mean, you know what I'm talking about because you're doing it for Wendy. It is pummeling me. And I play tennis, right? And it's just been overwhelming. But we've done everything. We've had a great campaign. We've raised, I've been very, very, very lucky, raised a lot of campaign money. I've been supported by a lot of attorneys, particularly trial attorneys, many of whom I've gone up against or had cases with, and they're supporting me in my endeavor. And so it's extremely gratifying. But it's been a very long year, particularly with pandemic. That was tough. That's been tough.
That has to be one of the greatest compliments when somebody that you routinely go against or have gone against in the past supports your candidacy.
Yes.
I always, that's truly telling of the candidate. If people who've worked against you support you for this, because it means, the personality, you were able to, do what you needed to do and not take it any further. So
right.
That's amazing.
That's the best part. And I think, regardless of outcome, we can't control the outcome because, we're looking at maybe 200,000 people voting. There's no way to control that. You can't touch every voter, even under the best of circumstances, let alone during a pandemic. But just to be able to have placed myself out there, I've had a great career. I am very proud of my effort in running this campaign. And like I said, I've had great support. I love it when complete strangers come up to me and say, I've looked you up, Ms. Daniel, and I am voting for you. I mean, what more can you hope for?
Okay, well, thanks, Helene, for you. You were on for 15 minutes. You can come certainly back tomorrow until the 16th. I have your opponent is in the waiting room, and we want to give him a chance to address the voters as well. But thank you so much for joining us.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me. Janine, great questions. Thank you very, very much. You guys are awesome.
Tell your sister I said hello.
Helene, listen, thanks. What is your website?
Oh, thanks. Helene Daniel 4 judge.com.
Okay, give me 1 second. What is going on here?
Thanks, Heidi. I really appreciate it.
Helene, hold on a second. Helene, could you repeat, please, the website?
I'm sorry. Helene Daniel 4 judge.com.
4judge.com.
Changing your name on your Zoom login there.
I'll do that next time. I'll do that tomorrow if I'm back.
Hold on, Helene. I'm trying to get this right here. Is this correct?
It's perfect.
Okay, so for the viewers, Helene Daniel, 4judge.com to learn more about Helene. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Hey, look who
guys.
Hey, how are you?
Good, Miss Janine. How are you? Good to see you. Heidi, ¿cómo estamos?
Ahí, tú sabes, la lucha.
Always.
We're going to have you on the Spanish broadcast. Florida, tu juzga. We have the counterpart to Florida, you judge. That's coming soon. So
ready to go.
All right. So I'm going to leave you with Janine. She's going to be the primary host. So I'm going to jump off.
Yes, ma'am.
Take it away, Janine.
Hi, Janine.
Hey, how are you?
I'm
so
good.
I've been watching, and I'm on the campaign trail because Wendy DePaul.
Yes.
So I'm asking questions a little differently.
Okay.
People to get to know you, but not just what you always say when you're doing it. But first,
Absolutely.
Tell me why you are the best candidate in your group that people should vote for you.
To me, that's simple. It's the passion and the direction of service that I come from and that I live every single day. Jenny, this is not a job that I'm looking for to check a block. This is not a stepping stone. This is not a title. I was born as a first-generation American, and simply put, I wouldn't be alive if my family hadn't escaped to America, and it opens its doors. When that happens to you and you grow up in a house where your mom and dad are constantly reminding you how good you have it and how much you owe this country and this community, it affects you. So I want to be a judge because it's time to serve, and this is the best capacity to do it for me. I became an attorney to make a difference, not to make money. I've made money. It doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't fill the hole. And And, you know, you want to talk about experience? Okay. You want to talk about education? Got it. You know, and every attorney that you ever talk to has to have that stuff just to even show up. Now let's, like you're trying to do, let's nug down to the next level and find out who that person really is and what they were doing before they signed the ballot or they signed the form to run for office. And that, I think, is where I bring a very broad depth of experience and base to be able to understand the super poor person that's coming in front of me with their only day in court, the super rich person, and everyone in between, no matter their color, where they come from, who they love. That's super important to me.
Historically, what areas of law have you already practiced in? And keep in mind, you have to have practice in an area of law to be a judge in that area, right? Because you don't have to play football to be a great referee.
Actually, you don't at all. I remember when there are some judges. I remember talking to a very experienced judge, and he said, Danny, I sit on the bench with people who didn't know where the courtroom was until the day they got elected. And I found that to be surprising. Really, that's why, you know, back in the day, Janine, you know that you didn't have to be an attorney to be a judge. Most people don't realize that. And then a lot of cases got overturned. So they said, hey, let's at least have someone who studied the law and been an attorney for 5 years. So most of my practice areas involved weren't necessarily litigation based. They were business law, bankruptcy. So we were in the federal courthouse all the time. I have 2 law degrees, a regular law degree, which is called a JD, and then I have something called an LLM, which is not very, very common. That one is in estate planning with a concentration in there of tax. So I concentrate on helping businesses from the beginning to the end. And then in the middle of that, you know, I became an attorney during the worst time, the worst recession ever. So we had to practice a bunch of areas to keep the lights on. So I did some immigration, helping people. That really was phenomenal, very eye-opening. I did entertainment law, which that was fun. That was a passion of mine. Dealing in that world is unique. And notice that I said I did it because I'm not in it anymore. It was a crazy world over there. And then I did personal injury. So personal injury, you know, when people get hurt and you represent clients that have been injured, my partner and I, we split up the work where I would bring in the case and do what's called pre-litigation. You work up the case, and 97% of the cases began and finished right there. And then he was a board certified trial attorney and criminal attorney as well. So he would take those cases after that.
So you're the one who does all the paperwork and keeps all the detail. I hate that. I just want to be handed stuff and go to trial.
Actually, you know what? You're super smart about that. So, you know, when we were in law school, I knew that the economy wasn't doing good. And so I tried to do what everyone else didn't want to do. I went to Stetson. It's a trial dog school. Even if you weren't going to be a trial dog, they made you a good one, right? That's their thing. But so I saw every business class, bankruptcy, transaction, secured transactions, like all these things that would blow your mind. And you know what, Janine? When the economy was bad, I was like one of the only people in my class that practiced that. So I got a ton of referral work from my fellow lawyers, and that literally saved my family. That, and then teaching, I taught business law at the University of Tampa for almost 8.5 years. So, which was an incredible experience being a professor at the law level, which I'd love to go back someday. That'd be fun.
Yeah, Wendy and I were law school roommates at Stetson.
No way. I didn't know that.
That's how we met in.
What do you practice?
I do a special area of criminal defense. So I have contracts with different public defenders.
Oh, wow.
I'm not out there necessarily hustling. And then, you know, Wendy and I both do family law, and she's really big background on foreclosure defense, bankruptcy. She's done both sides. You know, she's a CPA. So yes. Have you had Zoom hearings?
I have not had Zoom hearings. So why that's important to know is I was going to run for judge 3 years ago, and at the last election cycle. And actually, I was in the middle of, before filing, you know, kind of like gathering support, saying, hey, would you support me? And that's when the sheriff said, Danny, I just got appointed. I understand that you're wanting to run, but you're a service guy. Would you consider coming out and helping me for a couple of years and get back and run for judge? And to me, like I told you, I'm a service-based person. That was a good challenge for me. We helped him. I got to work with some of the finest people in this county that serve their community day and night. And so that's why when it comes to hearings, I ended up putting my practice on pause for the sheriff's office, and now I'm coming back.
Okay, so I'm sure you've heard from the other lawyers as far as the Zoom status conferences and things like that. And I think it saves people money because we don't all have to drive down there, especially for the status conferences. Is it something you would consider continuing to do, even if the courthouse was to open up tomorrow?
In every single way I can say yes, I would say yes. To the extent that it's efficient, it makes your life and your client's life better. Now, we both know that there's some cases that we can't do. Fine, no big deal. But when I started the law, technology, again, helped feed my family because I was a solo practitioner with very little experience. I had no law library, so I had technology. My law practice management system, technology. And I felt like if I was going to charge people money for a phone call, they'd love to see me. So we would do a lot of FaceTime. So I've been doing like Zooming kind of for years and years, and I've been an advocate. So now the courthouse was kind of forced into it. I'd love to keep that ball rolling to the extent that we can and to the extent that it makes sense for both lawyers and their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. You've been on the campaign trail.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know it's grueling out there. Tell me something that you love about this campaign cycle and something that you hate about this campaign cycle.
If you don't love people, you're in the wrong business, right? I know that judges are a unique type of politician, but nonetheless, this is a people business. And when you're on the bench, it's even more of a people business, right? You're talking about lawyers, you're talking about clients, you're talking about staff. So I love interacting with people. It's kind of where I get my energy. I love seeing people thrive. I love hearing their stories. I love seeing them get excited. That literally fuels me. So imagine when COVID came and it literally knocked the legs out from under me because now we're doing this. And now I'm stuck in a box, and all I'm saying is I want to see people. So today, for example, we had an event in Plant City. The Plant City Chamber of Commerce had a salute to Ag Day, and we got to see people. They had all these restrictions. They were awesome. They had masks. We all sat 6 feet apart. Phenomenal. You know what I would tell people? I just wanted to touch you. I'm just happy to see you. So that's been great. I love that. What I didn't love, I expected to when we run as a judge, that it would be, it's very strict. I think Helene is a phenomenal woman. She's going to make a great judge if she was to win. I'll say that right away. But we have certain rules. What I haven't seen, and this is not about her, so I want to be very clear. What I haven't seen out there is a level of stability that I really wanted to see. You know what I mean? The campaign trail is a lot worse than I thought. And it's not like, woe is me, feel sorry. I'm talking about for everyone. I've seen people treated poorly. I've seen people suffer some, bad effects. And that's just not what it's supposed to be about. But I get that it's part of the game. But that's been the most disappointing part of it all.
It hasn't, I will tell you this in fairness, and I know it's heated up in some areas more than others. It's not actually as bad as it's been in other races.
Good.
So you do see that, but you see that in every area of the law, right?
Oh yeah.
I always say that criminal defense bar and the prosecutors are the most civil outside of the courtroom to each other. You know
why? Because they have to see each other the next day. So you might cross somebody once. It's easy, like when business attorneys, kind of get tough with each other because they get tough on the phone, and then they might never see that person again. You know what I mean? But criminal bar and the defense bar, they see each other all the time. So there's a level of a modicum of respect and stuff. And I want to be clear, in my race, there hasn't been any contention like that. I'm talking about broadly. We're running in a crazy time. We're running in a crazy time, and that's just. I yearn for a day when we go back to some level of stability.
Well, but you have to be creative. You have to think outside the box. You guys are shut down so much from what previous campaigns have done. But in the same token, you don't have to make all the appearances. And I don't know if you've heard from judges who've run previously and people who didn't succeed in their races, the crazy schedules they had to keep because
absolutely
appearances.
You're right.
So tell me what you like to do when you're not practicing law, when you're not volunteering, when you're not doing pro bono. What do you do in your free time?
I'm obsessed with my children. I am completely obsessed with my children. I have 4 children, a 15-year-old who is, you see this right here, all this gray? That's not this campaign trail. That's that kid right there. So I have a 15-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 7, and a 5-year-old. I cannot get enough time with them. The good thing about the COVID part where it put everything on pause. Remember when we were on like really hardcore isolation? Well, I realized just how busy my entire life has been. I often say that when you are a solo practitioner or you run your own business, you are actually running a campaign without a race, right? There's no race because you never finish because you're always looking for the next case. I love my children. I love making them good people. I love watching new experiences through their eyes. I love watching them grow.
The fourth quarter of school, how much of it did you really teach?
The fourth quarter of in college?
No, high school. And not high school. The fourth quarter or last semester, the spring semester. When I was 7-year-old. When we all got sent home, I crushed first grade math. And I know to practice law, and I heard your ages.
So working at the Hillsborough Sheriff's Office, I was an essential employee. We never stopped working. And so, and that became difficult because Cindy, their mom, would be home pulling her hair out. And then she would be like, well, it must be nice that you get to go home to work. And, at work, it wasn't fun and games because it's the sheriff's office. We're trying to buy products. We're trying to make sure the deputies have their supplies. We're trying to make sure people stay safe. And then you come home and the house is buzzing, So I taught some, but not so she gets the crown. I'll tell you that. She gets all the awards possible.
All right. As long as you're giving credit. My husband works in a nursing home and assisted living facility in the physical therapy department. So he never got stopped either. And it's like, okay, here, Janine.
Right.
So I appreciate that you're giving your wife the credit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about other things. Let me see. We talked about your private time. You talked about your children. Well, other than your children, what do you like to do? Are you playing sports? Are you reading?
I love to read. I love to work out. It's a very therapeutic thing for me. If I don't work out, all of it just bumps up on me. So I love working out. And then I do a lot of motivational speaking. And I don't get paid for a lot of it, and that's the one that I love. I do a lot of women's empowerment talks. When and I know that sounds odd, but when we focus on women that arrive to our country from Central and South America, they come from a different society, and it's a welcome to America where freedom and empowerment is a new thing. So I like to do that, and I love to read. I cannot get enough.
I want to go back to the empowerment speeches.
Wait, because we're about to wrap up, Janine. We've done 15 hours. Robert's waiting. I wanted to. Okay, I understand, but I wanted Robert to say hello to Danny because Danny mentioned working out, and Robert is a workout beast. Robert, you got to unmute yourself. You're muted. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I unmuted you. I apologize, but. Robert Eckard, phenomenal attorney. He does federal defense, does all sorts of stuff, state and federal, and he's a workout beast.
Hey, even Robert's face is buff. I need to get off the screen.
It's all the food I'm eating. The muscle, really hard.
Nice to meet you, Robert.
Me too. Best of luck.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Janine, we can talk offline if you want.
No. Okay, so listen, Danny, I want you to give your website. I want to post that.
All right, thank you. That's www.electdannyalvarez.com.
Got it. I just want to say
and ask your question.
No, I was going to tell you the next time we talk, I'm going to ask you about these empowerment speeches.
Absolutely.
Volunteer. That's amazing. And next time I'm going to talk to everybody about what they do to volunteer and give back.
Okay.
I specifically excluded you from that.
Don't leave, Danny. Hold on. I want to just make sure that this is correct. Hold on.
Yes, ma'am. Robert, are you ready?
I asked myself the same
Robert's
question.
Always ready. Is that correct, Danny? ElectDannyAlvarez.com. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. www.electdannyalvarez.com.
Okay, great. So for those of you viewing, please share. Phenomenal candidate. And you're Cuban, just like Cuban American, like me. I don't know if were you born in Cuba? I was raised in.
No,
I was raised
born here.
I was raised in the capital of Cuba, though. Today I told someone said, where are you from? I said, the capital of Cuba, Hialeah.
And that's a Miami joke. If you're watching,
And it's right,
Yeah.
right.
Danny, you know what that
Thanks for
is?
stopping in, Danny, and good luck.
that's
Okay.
Cuba de Cuba. Yeah, that's the Cuban seal.
That's a
He
Cuban
loves
arm.
Cuba. Robert loves him some Cuba.
Wow, coat of arms. I mean, you're right. Awesome, Robert. Look at you, brother.
Yep.
Too
Yep.
funny. Anyway, Danny, it was very nice talking
Awesome.
to you.
Thanks, Janine.
I
really
wish there was more judicial seats available. I really do.
I
There are
appreciate it.
good candidates this
Thank
cycle.
you. Yeah, there really are. We really are. All right, guys. Have a great one. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, hermano.
Bye, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna talk today, and Wendy, it's gonna be a bit. So if you want to jump back on, I see you there in the waiting room. You can
Oh,
come back.
Wendy's
If we're chilling.
got, she's going to something that she's not going to be able to jump back on.
Okay, could you? We're gonna bring you on for 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes.
Let her say hi, man. I want.
Yeah.
I'm working the white shirt.
Okay, 2 minutes, Wendy.
Hey everybody!
Look at
This is
you.
Wendy
You look
Paul.
especially beautiful today.
Yeah,
Look
she's
at you.
I am actually going to sing the national anthem at a small gathering, so.
Oh, I
figured
wasn't
better
saying
put on
it.
the makeup.
I didn't know if you were giving that away. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's going to be
I mean,
very
I'm singing
exciting.
it an hour and a half, so it's kind of late now.
And
but,
Henny,
yeah.
that's Wendy's hidden. Wendy, the question I asked everybody is, what's their hidden talent?
What's their hidden? Oh yeah, I'm definitely a singer.
Well,
Yeah.
you're a professional singer, though, so your hidden talent
Yeah.
is probably baking.
Is what?
Baking.
Baking. Okay, yeah, that's true. Everybody kind of knows I sing, but I do love to bake. I have a great tiramisu recipe that people die for, and I whenever I have some people who are feeling down or there's a holiday party, that tiramisu comes out and goes crazy. Especially Janine. So Janine, every time I make it, I have to make one for her, no matter who it's for.
It's true. I've been all over Italy. Her tiramisu is absolutely the best.
Well,
So
there you go. Okay, so Wendy, what do you want to tell the voters right before we get to Robert?
Sure. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge, Group 39. I hope you'll vote for me either this weekend or on the 18th. If you'd like to find out more about me, my website is wendydepaul4judge.com. That's what the number 4, or you can use the word 4. They both work. And my Facebook page is also Wendy DePaul 4 Judge. That's one with the number 4. And
Okay,
if you have any
so,
questions, contact me.
good luck, Wendy.
Okay,
I want
hold
to
on
see
a second.
video.
Hold on, so I'm just gonna put this up real quickly just to make sure that it's correct. WendyDePaul4Judge.com. Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay, so viewers, go ahead and visit her website, WendyDePaul4Judge.com, to learn more about Wendy. Thanks for stopping in, Wendy.
I want to
Thank
see
you.
the video from tonight.
And I want
I
to
will
see the
send you
gospel
the-
song that you learned overnight.
Yes. Oh my God,
I
that's so
know. I
amazing.
gotta send that to you. Oh my God.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
found
I'm gonna message Julia right now and ask her to send me that link.
All right, bye. Good night, Wendy.
Bye.
Have
Take care.
fun. Okay, so this is gonna be the exciting part. If you want to stick around, Janine, I know that every night you've been very busy. You can stay.
It's
You
up,
can go.
it's up to you. I'm not as
Oh
familiar.
no,
with
I
the
want you to
area.
stay. I want you to
Oh, then
stay.
I'll
I
stay.
just don't
I'm
want you
gonna
to feel.
mute.
I don't want you to feel pressured that you need to stay. But of course, absolutely, I want you to stay. Okay, so
Well,
Robert is amazing, and I'm so happy that he's here with us. He's phenomenal. I am honored, very fortunate to consider or to have him as a friend, a brother, a colleague. He's amazing. Great man, father, just businessman, attorney. He's amazing. So I called him today because this week we had a candidate who's running for judge in Pinellas. There's actually 3 candidates. Sheriff Colterri seeking another term. Then we have Eliseo Santana and James McLennis, who we had the opportunity, me and you, Janine, to talk to him. And I wanted him to just come on a couple of minutes, same kind of deal as tonight with the candidates that were on. So he just kind of went into this whole full discussion about what he's going to do for the residents of Pinellas, for Pinellas County. He's going to make it. And I went ahead and I got this off his Facebook. He says he's going to make ending all cannabis enforcement in Pinellas County. That is his promise to the residents of Pinellas County. He's going to end all enforcement. When he said that, I was kind of like, whoa, okay. So, and it prompted me to ask him a couple of questions because I saw some problems with that, as did you, Janine.
Absolutely.
One of the things you immediately said, I said, wait a minute. And I like the fact that I have this platform out there because one of the primary objectives is to inform the public, inform them. There are things that we don't even know, and we're lawyers. There are laws that I learn of, every now and again. That just because I'm a lawyer doesn't mean I know everything. So I want to inform the voters. Robert, we talked about it briefly before this broadcast, and you did some research. You're going to tell us about that today in the next 20 minutes. I said to him, you do understand, if you start telling people this is your platform, this is what you're going to do, and let's suppose you win and you become sheriff, you start telling everybody, go ahead and grow, which is specifically what he said. He'd let people grow their own pot in their backyard. Not a problem. If they rely on this, I said, there's going to be a problem with the feds coming in, possibly.
Yes.
Robert, I want you to now take the time to educate us about the problems with this idea that if he wins, people are going to be able to grow pot and that there's not going to be any serious consequences to that if people rely on that.
Are you differentiating, but obviously then between growing and the smoking? Because his whole point of this was to bring back the economy in Pinellas County, which is not the role of the sheriff. However, that's what his platform was. It was economy driven.
Well, I mean, that really involves peeling the onion back quite a bit on this particular issue. I mean, if that's a major point on Mr. McLinnis's platform, there's some serious constitutional concerns. There are some serious law enforcement concerns. There are some serious legislative concerns, all wrapped into that premise of what he proposes to do. First of all, I will say that I think most people, if not all people, are concerned about their safety and security when it comes to hiring or voting for the right law enforcement officer, be it the attorney general or the state attorney, or in this instance, the sheriff. And Sheriff Gualtieri, I think, in my opinion, has done a very good job at policing the Pinellas County. And I think these challengers, these Democratic challengers, will face an uphill battle and a very difficult challenge to the current sheriff, Sheriff Gualtieri. But getting to the issue of allowing cannabis to be grown or cultivated freely without any consequence, I think is problematic from the perspective that it is still a federal offense. And unless you have the proper licensure from the Department of Agriculture, Consumer Affairs, Department of Health, you could be and will be likely to be violating federal and state law.
Robert, can I ask you a question? Because I want to be informed too. You just said something. Right now, it's been medically legislated that you can use it for medical purposes, marijuana. So, and there's licenses that are being issued in the state. Could the feds still, notwithstanding the fact that it's legal here, that the people put that as a ballot initiative, it passed, and it's the law now here, could the feds still come in and say no?
Well, I think they could, but I think it was under the Obama administration with the Holder and Yates memo that came out in the Justice Department that decided not. It was an edict. It was an order to federal law enforcement not to interfere with that state's decision to allow for medical marijuana licensure and use.
Got it. Thanks, Robert.
Okay.
So okay, go.
What I was going to say was that this platform that this candidate appears to be running on raises several issues. And I'll say that I have, fortunately, contacts both in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, other law enforcement agencies, and in DEA, given what I do. And I reached out to some of my contacts. And speaking to DEA today, mainly those agents that handle the maritime smuggling operations for Panama Express Task Force, they generally don't deal with a lot of marijuana crime involvement. It's usually something else, usually cocaine or other narcotics. In this instance, obviously, if they find a boat with marijuana on it, they are going to seize it and do what they normally do, which is refer it to the United States Attorney's Office for prosecution. So it'll be up to, in this instance, the Middle District of Florida and arguably Joe Ruddy, who's the chief of narcotics at the Middle District in the U.S. Attorney's Office, on whether to prosecute that crime of trafficking. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about trafficking with these amounts. We're not talking about possession of a high school kid or a kid, person on the street corner. We're talking about large amounts. And why is that important? I think from a law enforcement standpoint, and understand, I'm a criminal defense attorney, but when you look at why it's important to law enforcement is because we're talking about the issue of several factors. One, money laundering. Money laundering is a very obviously serious offense. And at the federal level, I know from experience that many DEA agents on these task force are in a task force made up of FBI agents, DEA, Department of Homeland Security or Homeland Security. These task force are also concerned about the flow of money into what's considered criminal organizations, and whether it be Mexican cartels or Hezbollah or any other criminal organization for the funding of any type of political or religious purpose that they might have. So drugs are a commodity used in funding for different terrorist organizations. That's why sometimes they call it narco-terrorism. So that's a byproduct of the sale of these trafficking offenses. We can see, and I know from experience, where large quantities of cocaine, in cases that I've been involved in, there's sometimes a barter going on between cocaine and black tar heroin. And I've been, my experience and my knowledge and my relationships with DEA has led me to understand that certain countries are essentially warehouses for black tar heroin. And so the black tar heroin and the cocaine get swapped out. And so we get the Western Hemisphere getting more black tar heroin, and Europe and Asia getting more cocaine. So
you know what? And you know what, Robert? He said that he was not going to enforce cocaine possession either, or any drugs, right? Isn't that what he said? Because I asked him, is it?
Yeah, no, he was specifically about possession, but Robert's obviously taken this on to the part of he's not great. You tell the local cops don't enforce pot, he's not going to be able to stop the feds.
No, I know, but listen, okay, but what Robert just said. Robert, you just said that if it's for a small amount of pot, you don't think the feds are going to come in for that.
No, I don't.
So if he makes, hold on, Janine.
Okay.
If he makes a decision about, I'm not going to enforce small amounts of pot, you doubt, with your vast experience with the feds, you don't think they're going to come in. But if he starts saying, which he did say, he would allow people to grow their own pot in their backyard. It becomes where there's some big levels of manufacture, cultivation, you do think that that's going to cause a problem?
I do. And speaking to friends of mine.
And by the way, hi, John. John wanted to jump on and join you because he admires you so much, Robert. So I thought he's running for judge he's running for judge in Hillsborough.
Listen, I that's why I hit mute on my mic. I'll listen to Mr. Eckard talk all freaking night. I'm not kidding. This is educational, man. And he better watch out. If I'm lucky enough to get elected, I'm calling him with questions. If he thinks I'm kidding,
Robert,
I'm
are you talking about multiple plants? Or are you talking one plant?
I'm sorry, say that again, Janine.
Do you think the feds are going to step in if everybody's growing one plant?
No, in fact, I confirmed that today with DEA, and I'm not going to name names. And I told them I wouldn't call anybody out, but there's several factors that will influence DEA's decision on whether to prosecute. One is the amount. I mean, and the criminal history of that defendant. Okay, so a grow house that has 25 plants that may not have any criminal history tied to that defendant or target may not be prosecuted unless that target also has a vast criminal history. You might see a defendant prosecuted for that target prosecuted for 25 plants, whereas the feds normally would have a threshold for 100 plants in order to make it for them to come in and involve themselves in a prosecution. And here's where some of the breakdown occurs. It's where the feds will refer it to a local law enforcement agency, and it's up to them to decide what to do. So there could be a breakdown, and there in fact is, not only in Florida but in other states where my sources in DEA have advised me. They refer it to the local law enforcement agency, the district attorney's office, the state attorney's office, and they don't pursue it. It's not. There's a breakdown between state and federal.
So let me ask you this, Robert. Okay, now that you touch upon that point, let's say they say, that's not worth our time. 25 plants, we don't care. That's not a person that has a bad record. We don't care. But they tip off a local agency. So the sheriff, if this man wins, he says, holding true to his commitment to the voters who elected him on this pledge, he's not going to enforce it. But then there could be other law enforcement agencies that do, in conjunction also with Bernie McCabe. Do you think Bernie McCabe is going to allow cultivation even with that low threshold of 25 plants, like openly, or that they know that this is becoming? Do you think so? What's your opinion on that, Robert?
I haven't talked to Bernie in a while about this issue, but
you worked for Bernie.
I did work for Bernie as a former prosecutor, and I don't think his philosophy has changed at all. I think what you would see is Bernie, Mr. McCabe, using alternate law enforcement agencies to go in and do what needs to be done to enforce the law. And I think you'd probably see a very quick call to the governor's office to review whether the governor, in this case DeSantis, should remove the sheriff for not doing what needs to be done.
And he is able to do that under our Constitution, yes, our law. He removed the Broward sheriff.
Of course, yes. The not only remove a sheriff, but remove cases from that sheriff or prosecutor's jurisdiction. And I think we talked about that prosecutor that would not enforce the death penalty, right? And
what they did is they didn't let her do. They took that away from her, the ability. They gave those cases to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, to other counties, other state attorneys that did, and then they decreased funding for that office, if I'm not mistaken.
John knows the answer.
Wait, let me unmute. John, go. I am sorry. You have to unmute yourself, John. I think you there you go. You muted yourself. Go. Now, hold on a second. Hold on. You're muted. You got to unmute yourself, John. You got to. There you go. Go.
I keep pushing it. It keeps messing me. Haiti, you're a good person. Hey, I got to take off. I got to go wave my flag for about another 10 minutes here on Manhattan. So
okay, well, just go ahead and address the. You want a minute? Go a minute. Address the voters real quickly.
Thank you, my friend. Another busy day. So we had this morning. I was in Riverview, and then I had a luncheon. The Plant City Chamber, by the way, had a live luncheon today celebrating agriculture, and I'll tell you, it was fantastic. It was in a big auditorium. Social distancing was top notch, and they had masks. Everyone wore their masks, and they did a great job. And now I'm waving the flag over on Manhattan. It's been.
What's your website?
It's ShafinoForJudge.com. ShafinoForJudge.com. That's it.
Is it the number?
No. Shafino FOR for Judge.com.
Okay, so let me do this real quickly.
Doing that, John, tell us a hidden talent you have that nobody knows about on the campaign trail.
Shafino for Judge. Those who are watching, Shafino for Judge here on the screen.com. You're awesome candidate. Good luck. Thanks for dropping in. I thought it'd be cool for you and Robert to be on the screen together.
I'm not kidding. I'd listen to that guy all day long. Hey, Janine, I play the piano. I play the piano.
Oh, okay. Piano player.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
All right. Hey,
All right.
Good luck, John.
Night.
I'll talk to all of you. See you.
Have a great evening. Okay, Robert.
Okay.
So you were saying, go.
Wait, I have a question. Because
Okay,
you were talking about that. I didn't know the governor could remove the sheriff. So obviously, Robert, don't you think if this man won and his platform is to raise the economy, come smoke pot on our beaches, right? In Pinellas County, to bring back tourism and to capitalize on tourism. Even if the governor didn't have a stick about whether or not people should be smoking pot, don't you think he would step in just because one county is allowing it on their beaches is taking away from the other counties? It's almost like playing unfair.
Yeah, well, I think if this candidate is operating under that mindset, he doesn't understand that the legislature is what determines what's legal and what's illegal. So for him as sheriff to declare, come smoke on our beaches, it's okay. I don't know how you can have a constitutional officer proposing to promote the violation of the law. And I don't think you can have a governor support that. I think there'd be many issues involving his retention as the sheriff. So,
see, the Florida Senate sided with Governor Ron DeSantis, in removing former Broward Sheriff Scott Israel from office. So it's happened.
That had to do with the
shooting.
Right.
Yep. But it could be done, right?
Yes, absolutely can be done. And I want to mention another thing. It's really important. Obviously, funding is important for law enforcement, and we've seen you can't turn a channel nowadays without seeing somebody somewhere talking about defund the police or completely remove the police from a jurisdiction. Funding is crucial for every agency, notwithstanding, especially for law enforcement agencies. And in this instance, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, like many sheriff's offices, has to propose a budget and need for money to the county commission that allocates how much the sheriff's office will get. And that's how the sheriff's office gets its funding. But there is another way where the sheriff office gets separate funding that they don't have to go to the county commission, and that's through federal monies that are provided to the sheriff for housing and maintaining a wing of the jail, or for incarceration purposes, waiting trial or sentencing for federal offenders. And our county receives about $9 million a year, or I should say our sheriff's office, that contract with the federal government is worth about $9 million a year. And I would suggest that if this Democratic candidate that's running against Sheriff Bolteri were to jeopardize that contract, that the feds simply would, maybe they go to Sheriff Naco or the sheriff in Hillsborough or the sheriff in Polk and give them the contract.
Yeah, because we did talk about that prior to the broadcast. I told you that this week when he came on, that's one of the things that I asked about. So you're not going to enforce it. Let's say, another agency enforces it. Bernie or the feds come in and make an arrest, and they are going to jail these people regardless of what you said. And he told me they're not going to use my jail. They're not going to use Pinellas County jail. So Robert, when we talked about that and you're now addressing that, you told me that they would be able to then use surrounding counties, other law enforcement agencies who would allow these folks to be housed in their jails. Yes.
Yes. So, and of course that would deprive the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office of that substantial revenue. And I think what you would realize is that services that are currently in place by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office would be significantly, I think, minimized, curtailed, or even they'd go away because of the lack of funding that doesn't come from strictly the Board of County Commissioners, that comes from the federal government.
So,
And Mr. McCabe could still direct file on all the
address
cases he wanted
that,
to.
Robert.
Well, certainly it's up to the prosecuting authority to make a decision on what charges to file and what charges not to file. In many of these cases, which I just previously talked about, when there's when the baton is passed from the federal government law enforcement to the state, I just talked about that there's from the federal government agents that I know, from their perspective, sometimes the state or the states that they've been in, they don't pick up those charges for marijuana possession or trafficking, and there's no prosecution. So they either null pros them, or they simply they don't pursue it at the administrative level. And in this instance here, certainly Bernie McCabe's decision to file charges or not file charges is within his discretion. I mean, that's the prosecutorial discretion, and it would be up to him. But he certainly could do it without the sheriff if he had other law enforcement officers from another jurisdiction, be it Clearwater PD, be it Treasure Island PD, be it St. Pete PD. I mean, we've got how many, 15 or more law enforcement agencies in Pinellas County.
Well, and so that's why, I'm glad that Janine brought that up, because that's something that I did ask. Well, if it doesn't matter if you don't arrest, they can still be prosecuted. And he said, he kind of gave an impression from my recollection that, no, that's not going to happen here. And it would be sad for the public that are not informed, knowledgeable based on the information that you've just presented, to just think that, I don't think he's going to win. I don't. I think, but if he did, some people, if they relied on what he's saying, they're going to get, they could get caught up in a bad situation with other governmental agencies. I
mean, let's face it, resources are always limited. And so even if you had a multi-jurisdictional task force involving St. Pete PD, Clearwater PD, Treasure Island, whatever law enforcement agencies exist throughout Pinellas County, other than the sheriff's office, these task force would certainly be limited in terms of their ability to police the size of this county. So if the sheriff decided that they were not going to investigate or arrest cultivators of large amounts of marijuana, and again, I'm not talking about a plant or two, but it sounds like this guy's talking about, farms, because he wants to increase commerce. Mr. McCabe may not ever be aware of it. If his agency is turning and they're given a directive to look away, to turn away, you're not to pursue these cases. McCabe's office, the state attorney's office, may never know.
Well, but if this becomes a county where there's a lot of huge masses of cultivation occurring, I don't think Bernie's not going to sit there and not do anything about that.
I agree. And I think you'll see a greater federal involvement in this county. I mean, right. This isn't going to be a safe haven county for, Could
you imagine? What do you think if it did, if everybody turned away and said, we're not going to prosecute this, then some of your federal clients will shack up here and do business here in Pinellas.
Well, maybe it ought to be a signal to the legislature that, hey, maybe we ought to consider legalizing recreational use, right? I mean, and then taxing it to gain that benefit, like Colorado does and like California does. So, hey, there's a demand.
Am I misguided in telling them, listen, we're a country where we have a legislative process and I understand sometimes there's civil obedience to unjust laws. I get that at times, but generally we are a country where there's a legislative branch, and we, the people, should urge our lawmakers to do things in an orderly fashion by way of legislation. Am I misguided in that, Robert?
No, I mean, in fact, you probably know and can't drive 5 minutes when you leave your office tonight without seeing a Morgan and Morgan billboard. And John Morgan, who spent what, $5, $6, $7 million of his own money to get it on the ballot initiative. And he's been relatively as much money as he spent. Now we are in the medical phase and probably soon moving into the recreational phase. I think it's inevitable. It's coming. You know, federal law enforcement. It's ironic that cocaine on the schedule of drugs, cocaine's a Schedule 2. Marijuana is a Schedule 1. I mean, I just shake my head at that. And for those listeners that may not understand, a Schedule 1 narcotic or Schedule 1 drug is a drug that has no purported no medicinal or human value to the human body. And so marijuana is a 1, cocaine's a 2. So cocaine has, under the DEA's scheduling system, has some medicinal use and purpose for its use. And then you get into Schedule 3 narcotics, such as the narcotics, the painkillers, sleeping pills, things of that nature. And then you get to Schedule 4, and they're really not regulated by DEA anymore. They're regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. And then Schedule 5. So the higher up the scale you go, they consider the least addictive those drugs are. And marijuana happens to be a 1 and cocaine a 2.
Robert, one last thing, because we're a little over 6 o'clock. I could be here till 7, but we're not, because I'm tired and you're busy. And thank you for joining and informing us. This is awesome. What about the problem? Because I did tell him, what about when people start saying, well, you're not enforcing that, I don't want you to enforce this. And I gave an example as to driving while license is suspended, but I'm sure there's more crimes that are victimless that the public would say, where are you, I don't want you to enforce this. Would he run into a problem because he's deciding not to enforce one crime but enforcing another?
Well, I think you and I both know, and maybe Janine also recognizes that, you know, selective enforcement is a slippery slope. And yeah, I think ultimately that would cause tremendous problems in a system of laws that would, if you had a secret book that had stars next to it that said, hey, let's not pursue these laws, but prosecute or pursue these other ones. The legislature hasn't put a scale up next to a DUI under Chapter 316 or a number next to Chapter 893 violations for drug violations. They're equally supposed to be prosecuted, right? Same with a disorderly conduct or a simple trespass. There's no hierarchy of what takes precedent on prosecution or investigation or arrest. If we got into that system, wow, I think it would be very burdensome on law enforcement. And I think it takes away the legislative purpose of enacting the laws that we have.
Right.
I absolutely agree.
And listen, if I don't think he's going to win, but if he did, you know, most likely there's going to be a world of problems with him as the sheriff in because based on all the issues that you discussed, and he may very well be removed. And then what would happen? The governor would appoint somebody not elected by the people.
By the people. Yeah.
Robert, where can people contact you? Tell us what you practice, the areas that you practice, and where can people contact you?
Well, for those of you that don't know, I was just recently asked to be general counsel to Florida U Judge. So I'm very proud of that new distinction.
And and I'm very honored and blessed for you to have accepted.
I practice government investigations, including anything involving the government, whether it's the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, securities fraud, telemarketing fraud, and also criminal defense, be it narco trafficking, international money laundering. And I also am board certified in business litigation. And in many instances, you'll see those two areas intersect when you have business and crime occurring side by side. For someone that understands and has been both a prosecutor and a defense attorney. And like your previous guest, I also have not only a JD from Stetson, but I have an LLM in international law. And my international practice is pretty extensive, although curtailed by the COVID virus.
What's your office number for those who want?
My office number is 727-772-1941. 727-772-1941. And I want to thank you for letting me come on today at such short notice.
Attorney Robert Eckard, 727-772-1941. For those of you who want to reach out and get a consultation, talk to Robert in the areas that he practices. Thank you so much. Thanks, Janine, for joining me again today. We're going to keep doing this to the 16th. Voting is very important. People,
Please.
Go out and vote. Go out and vote. It's very important.
Robert, it was great listening to you.
Janine, thank you. And it was a pleasure to meet you. Good
You're
luck
a man who knows his craft.
Your support of your campaign.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
I'm sure I'll be talking to you within 24 hours as we confer on other matters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, good night. Enjoy this
Have a good
evening,
night.
Robert, and you too, Janine. Haiti Oropesa for Florida, you judge. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, 5 o'clock.